We're on.
Started.
What do we do?
No warning.
We just start.
Don't fuck it up.
Damn. Thrown in the deep end. Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of Carlisle Studios.
Carlisle Studios.
I believe that's what we're going to call it. My name is Hal Hunter. A little bit about myself. Played football for 2 years, not very well. Then transitioned into tattooing when I was 20, so in 2014, and have tattooed ever since then. Used to work at Vintique Tattoos in Mordialloc, or I still do, 1 day a week, and now am a part owner of Carlisle Tattoo Co. in St Kilda. I have with me here my wife, Bella.
Hello.
And my colleague / good friend, Aaron.
Hello.
Introduce yourselves.
You can go first,
I
Aaron.
can go first. All right. Well, my name is Aaron, as Hal just said. I'm originally from Portland, a small town on the southwest coast of Victoria. Used to work doing whatever sort of just labour and jobs. Got into tattooing about 3.5 years ago, down in Portland, and just moved up about 2 years ago to Melbourne. Joined the crew at Carlton at the time, but Carlisle now, and been loving it. It's good.
And your life's never been better.
It's literally never been better.
And look at you now,
I know.
sitting in this room having chats.
Hello, I am Bella Hunter. I'm Hal's wife.
Mm-hmm.
I have been tattooing for around 3.5 years, probably the same amount of time as Aaron.
What did you do before that?
Before I tattooed, I was an event manager for a few years, and I worked for a children's brand just in the warehouse. But yeah, always wanted to tattoo. Never sort of took the leap into doing it. Now I'm here.
Mm-hmm. Look at you now.
Look at me now.
Sitting here.
Chatting.
Living the dream.
Yeah,
as they
so
say.
I guess this is something new for all of us, and a little bit nervous because we don't really know what we're doing. But
Do we ever though?
well, not really.
Just wing it.
I wouldn't say I know what I'm doing every day, but have had a few people mention to us that doing a podcast might be an interesting thing. You meet lots of people doing the job that we do. So we got some interesting things to talk about. I think for me personally, doing this is something that I've always I guess since Dylan started doing his podcast, it's always been interesting. I think
You've not really given much context as to who Dylan is right now
Dylan.
and where we are.
Sorry.
So no one's going to understand that.
Yeah, so we're recording this currently in my oldest friend Dylan Buckley's podcast studio.
Producey.
Big thank you to them. Dylan's, I think he's actually my oldest friend.
Yeah.
We played a lot of football together when we were younger. And just stayed friends ever since. And after his AFL career, he went on to get into the podcast and the media world. And he's I think, taken it by storm. So
Big deal.
Yeah, he's been a big support. So, we just thought we'd get into it and start chatting. So we put out the other day on our social medias a lot of to ask us questions and stuff you'd be interested.
Bit of a ask me anything.
I didn't want to say ask me anything, but yeah, they did. Lots of people asked anything.
Anything.
So
Some interesting questions, definitely.
Who wants to kick it
who
off?
wants to kick it off?
I'll go.
Oh, Bella, you go.
Oh, drama. Well, now I'm not prepared.
I'm ready.
Okay, you go.
So I actually had thought about talking about this, and it's from one of the brothers that I tattoo. So the brothers are
yep.
James and Tim, and James is the older brother. And
If I seem like a bit uninterested in any of Hal's stories, just know I work with him, I live with him, I've heard this story 1,000 times. It's always funny though.
It's never not interesting.
It's always funny.
Never not.
But I'll always just be
I've
like,
heard this story.
oh yeah, this one.
No, I think so.
repeating it.
I think I have.
You would have.
You have heard this. It's
Yeah.
a good one.
Tell me anyway.
So
Let's go.
I got the message from James, and his question was thoughts on Tim sitting on your lap getting his first tattoo. And that sort of like leads into like there was a lot of other people who asked about like weird things that have happened when you're tattooing and stuff like that. But I guess this is like a pretty light-hearted one that you can talk about. Yeah, so I was doing Tim's first tattoo on his calf. It was an
It was an early morning.
it was like 8:30 a.m. appointment. I don't know why I was doing
No, we were
early.
doing early appointments because we were in and out of COVID lockdowns.
That's right.
And we were getting slammed. Everyone wanted tattoos, which is amazing. Everyone in the tattoo industry in Melbourne was so busy straight after each lockdown. So we were doing early mornings.
That's right. So, well, early mornings for us is 8:30 a.m. tattoo because we don't usually start till 11. But yeah, so Tim comes in. It's his first tattoos. Obviously, like a little bit nervous. Didn't really know what to expect, and it was only me in the shop. And he got an angel, like a front-on full-body angel on the back of his calf. And anyway, we put the stencil on. He's lying down. I always find like it really difficult to sort of talk to customers when they're getting their calves tattooed because their head's at the other end
Anywhere
of
on
the
the
bed.
legs.
Yeah.
But they're also facing away from you.
You don't want them always like kinking their neck back to try and
Yeah.
talk to you and listen
But
to you.
then-
It's just like,
The tattoo machine's are loud.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't hear.
you said like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You seem rude.
Yeah.
So I was like, and I always say the same thing. I was like, oh man, like it's going to be a little bit difficult for me to hear you. So like, I'm not being rude, not talking to you. I just like won't be able to hear what you're saying. And anyway, I start doing this outline and I could see like as soon as I started, I could see it was like, it probably like the pain took him like a bit by surprise and he was like a bit shook from it. Which I do think the calf is like a big culprit for that.
Surprisingly.
Spicy.
Everyone thinks the shin will be worse, but most of the
False.
time, other way around.
Exactly. So he didn't move at all, but I could hear him going like, fuck, and stuff like that when I was doing lines. And I was like, oh God, I think he's really like not enjoying this. So I finished the outline and I'm like, all right, bro, you can stand up, have a stretch, all of this. And he was wearing this grey t-shirt. I remember when he stood up and he turned around and it was literally like he was fully drenched.
Like he'd pissed up his stomach.
Yeah, like he'd been sweating that much. And like that does happen when you get tattooed, but I was like, oh man, like he must have not been having a fun time. So anyway, I was like, all right, man. So I'm sitting on my little stool. He's standing in front of me facing me. I'm like, all right, man, spin around just so I can like have a look at the, like with you standing up. So he spins around. So he's standing like probably, I don't know, half a meter in front of me. And I'm like, all right, man, yeah, looks sick. And then he just starts to like back up on me and sort of like, well, he just sits down on my lap and I'm sitting on this tiny stool and I thought like, oh fuck, is he like passing out or something? So I sort of put my hands around his waist and like lowered him down onto my lap.
Braced for impact.
Well, I was like, oh, is he falling? Like, is he
He's like,
passing
what's
out?
going on here? I better
Yeah,
help this guy.
He's sitting on my lap, facing away from me, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he just like turns his head around and he goes, didn't you say sit down on my lap? And I was like, what? And he's like, I thought you said sit down on my lap. And I was like, nah. And he just stands up and it was like, I can't even describe how awkward it was. So he's 18. I've never
'Cause it was
met
just
him.
you and him in the
Just
shop.
me and him.
Yeah.
And I was actually so rattled. I was sitting there going like, oh man, this is so awkward. I don't know what to say. Like, I feel like I've led him on. You know what I mean?
like you're grooming him or something.
Oh, and I was thinking like, fuck, what did I say? Like, did I say sitting on my lap?
Yeah.
And
No.
then I was like, oh, all right, sweet man, jump back up and we'll do the shading. And then it was like, we didn't say a single word for ages.
And then I rocked up at the shop.
Yeah.
And it was walking into the most awkward room I've ever walked into before. It was just like crickets, like this sweaty as young bloke getting tattooed, Hal looking at me like a deer in the headlights.
It was beyond awkward. And I just remember I was thinking the whole time, like, I felt real guilty. Like I'd sort of like I'd given him signals that that's what I wanted him to do or something like that. And then I can't imagine what he was thinking, but I remember it was like the first thing that got said after that I was like, all I could think of was like, say like, oh, you got to say something. So I was like, oh man, do you want a drink? And he's like, yeah, I'll have a beer. Because there was beers in the fridge.
He's eyeing them
Yeah,
off.
so he had,
knew.
I remember, and then, when Bella comes in, he had a Corona in his hand. It was like 8:30 in the morning. And he was pretty comfortable about it after that.
Oh, he's coming back.
Yeah, well, the next time he came back, I was like, oh, I've got to make a joke about it. So
Yeah.
I was like,
It's like one of his favourite stories to bring up now.
well, I don't know if it's his. His brother definitely likes
yeah.
it.
I
He's
actually had
definitely famous
One
in
of
the
his
shop.
good friends I tattooed a couple of weeks ago, and he brought that story up again. And I hadn't thought about it in a long time, and it was so funny. And he was just sort of like, he was just saying like, did that happen? Like, was that? And I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't sound real.
Yeah, and I'm like, I mean, as far as I know, it was just them two in, and
Yep.
he sat on his lap.
I've never had anyone do anything like, people do like funny stuff, like weird stuff all the time, but like that was a real, like, I was actually really confused. I didn't know what was happening. And so yeah, Tim, if you're listening, you can thank your brother James for asking me to talk about that. Who's got the next question or prompt?
I will give you one. I had a question. I'm trying to find who it's from, but it's about biggest icks. What our icks are about the shop,
About tattooing.
about customers, tattooing. What are your biggest icks?
Well, I've been seeing a lot of this on social media.
Oh, it's
Stuff.
everywhere.
And I think I always see stuff that's like about dating and that.
Yeah,
but
so
I
that's
haven't-
my immediate
I haven't
thought.
been, well, just for a bit of background, like me and Bella have essentially been dating since we were 13 years old. So I've not been on many dates in a long
I've
time.
actually never been on a date because technically Hal and I didn't really go on a date. He sort of asked me out at my locker when we were 12 or 13. And
I like that.
then you're
That's-
set.
Just
So I've
forward.
never
You knew what
been
you
on a
wanted?
date.
Got it.
Yeah.
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 Straight in, go for the kill. But yeah, biggest icks.
So we go on dating icks, even though
Or maybe,
I reckon go one dating ick and one tattoo ick.
I've got plenty of tattoo ones.
I got plenty of them, but it depends on my mood of the day as well.
Give us an example of a tattoo ick. 'Cause I haven't
Okay,
thought about it
example.
That way. Yeah.
This one actually doesn't bother me that much. Like I couldn't really care less. But
But you're going to shame everyone who does it.
nah, like this is, I reckon any tattooer would be like, oh, it's a bit annoying. When you've got like your clean setup, like where your machines are and everything, like whatever surface is glad wrapped, that's considered clean and like sanitary.
Mm-hmm.
Then your customer goes and puts like their keys and their phone on your station.
Ah, okay.
It's annoying because it's sort of like, oh, and do I wipe it down? Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
But who cares?
I get that, but I'm also like, it's their stuff and you're tattooing them.
Oh, 100%. That's why I'm like, I don't really care. Like, where else are they going to put their stuff? If
It's
you
probably
haven't
not
prompted,
clean, it's just
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
yeah, it's just whatever.
Yeah. No, true. Yeah.
I would say, I just always think like punctuality is mine.
If you're running even 5 minutes late, send a message
Yeah.
before the time of the appointment. If you know you're going to be maybe running 5 minutes late, just say, hey, stuck in traffic. It's no drama. Just let us know because otherwise we think you're doing a no-show.
Did we say that to Cody?
Look, I'm going to say equally your fault and his fault because
I wouldn't
you
say.
probably weren't doing your follow-up messages.
Yeah. In the context of that is Cody Hill, who tattoos with us, and is a long-term client and friend of mine.
When did he start getting tattooed by? You were an apprentice still?
I reckon. No, I wasn't an apprentice. I reckon I started tattooing him in 2015,
Yeah, okay.
but he holds the record in my career for the longest time arriving after the appointment started.
And how long was that?
5 hours. Have you heard this?
Nah.
Oh, bro. Cody used to be. I was going to bring this up if he ever came on, but so the first ever knee web I did on him, I was so nervous,
Yeah.
and he was like,
Mind you, it's like a black and blue knee
it
web.
was color knee web.
I know
It's
the web.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I have seen it.
He was blind drunk,
Yeah.
and he could like I was nervous. He was sitting so badly, and it probably obviously would have really hurt because I was like, I reckon very heavy-handed back then. But
Yes, you were.
he could only get the outline, and I was like, fuck, man, this cunt's pretty weird. Because I didn't clue on that he was drunk.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he's a bit of a weird dude. And then the next time he came back, he's like, man, sorry, I was so drunk last time. I was like, oh, okay. But then I had this appointment. And this was back like 2015. I had fuck all on. So it was like, I'd be just stoked if I had like one appointment a day. And he was my only appointment on the Saturday. His appointment was at 10 a.m. And he didn't rock up. And then I'd messaged him, but like, I think, well, I would say definitely back then, the social, like the messaging on Insta and stuff was not like it is now.
Yeah.
So it was like people would never check their socials and stuff. So I messaged him going like, hey, you still coming? And then nothing back. And I was like, oh, he's obviously just no-showing me. And literally 5 hours later, everyone's like, the shop's getting locked up because we used to do only like 1 or 2 appointments in the morning on Saturdays at Vintique, and then like you'd finish at sort of lunchtime.
Yeah.
And so I was still there because I was like doing all the cleaning and stuff, and Scott was finishing up, and we like turned all the lights off and everything, and then he rocks up at the top of the stairs at Vintique, and he's like, oh man, sorry I'm late. And I was like thinking, what the fuck, bro? It's been 5 hours. And he goes like, oh, is it still cool if I get tattooed? And Scott just goes, mate, we're fucking closing. And it was like, I was like, oh, I don't know, man. Like, we might have to. He's like, I'm really sorry, bro. I was just like, fucking hell, man.
After like 15 minutes, if you haven't shown up, I'm absolutely clocked out.
Yeah.
That tattoo is like,
Yeah.
nah.
Like if it's the last appointment of the day, and
Especially,
it's, 20 minutes I'll give you, and then I'll leave.
You're
Even if it's like potentially you'll rock up, I'll be out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, the mood's not there.
Yeah. What's your dating ick, Aaron?
Dating ick.
Because
Big old Aaron.
me and Bella get our sort of like love life dating satisfaction through hearing Aaron talk about.
Big
And
Aaron is
I get hassled
single
a lot.
ladies, very single,
I
very
would
ready to
say-
mingle.
You potentially have some very unrealistic expectations.
You think so?
Yes. Yes. Sorry, wait, before we rip him, tell us your dating ick.
Yeah, come on.
Okay. Well, I got one that I find hilarious that I didn't think about straight away, but when I heard it, I agreed, and I thought it was so funny. Is this when someone like drops either a note or like a receipt or something, and then they're chasing after it, and like
Like
they're just
on the street?
yeah, it's blowing away in the wind, and they're chasing it, and it's just like if you've dropped it, you let it go. And I just like,
But that's littering.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. You're in a dilemma there. You're like, well, I've got to. This is more. This is
Who's getting receipts on dates?
So this is just a bit more random. Like I got told this is more
Like tax deduction.
A girl told me about what she said.
Did she tell you this on a date?
Yeah, it was.
Oh.
And yeah. So and then I imagined it, and if I saw myself like in the reflection
Fumbling.
or something, chasing after a receipt, I'd break up with myself as well.
Okay, girls,
always-
don't drop your receipts.
I always feel like that when you've got your stencil and you've like prepped the skin with your stencil stuff or Dettol or whatever, and then you drop this stencil paper and it sort of floats down like a leaf, and you're trying to catch it in front of like your customer.
Yeah,
And
you got to let it go.
I always feel like they're looking at you like, how can you not catch this thing?
I do that
Takes
all the
about a
time.
minute for it to hit the ground, and you're just swiping at it.
Oh, I do it all the time. It happens. What's your biggest ick, Hal?
Oh, I've got plenty.
Yeah.
Oh, we were talking about this the other day, actually. I would say, and I think a lot of people, if you do know me, are gonna like have an opinion on, very strong opinion on whether I'm a hypocrite on this or not. But I would say like, and I don't know if this is the correct term, but like in public, have like showing decorum.
Okay, so Hal did not explain that very well. You
No, I
hate
didn't.
PDA. You really, really, and you don't let me say the word hate often. You get mad at me every time I say hate
Yep.
because I do it a lot. Hal hates PDA. If you're kissing, anything more than like a very
I
casual
think
holding
there's-
of hands,
Yeah, I think
he's off it.
There's levels to it. Obviously, some of it you're like, come on.
A peck, like on the lips kiss, fine. Holding hands casually, not like a rubbing of the bum. fine.
I'm saying we're out to dinner, Aaron, and you're hooking up with your missus.
No, see,
I'm going,
that's
this
different.
is uncomfortable.
That is very different, you know?
Yeah.
I'm thinking like you can get away with a bit of cuddling and stuff, all that. Like it's fine. If you
No.
What, at dinner?
no, not at dinner. Like just out in public. Like if you
What, you're going to be cuddling at the tram
no,
stop?
like it's hard. It's hard to say it without actually seeing it.
I guess if you're in love, you can't deny it. But
Yeah, that like when you can see it that
So
way.
does that mean you're not in love with me
But if
because I
it's
get
just,
no
like,
PDA?
obnoxiously in front of everyone doing something that's kind of gross,
Yeah.
then it's like, yeah, don't do that.
Well, no, Bella, to answer your question, I didn't want to interrupt Aaron, and I've always said this. I believe overly displays
Displays of affection.
displays of affection is compensating for something.
Small dick.
No, not that.
Oh, okay.
That it's like, you know that I love you. I know that you love me. I don't need to like
Prove it to anyone.
You don't
show
need any
anyone
justification.
else. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not saying everyone does that. That's just how I think about it. Is that I don't.
See, to me, if I was doing it, it wouldn't be about that. It would be just because I like you want to show your partner affection. That like I would say
I like manners.
I'd be real into holding hands
I
and
like
stuff like
manners.
that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you would be that guy.
Yeah.
I reckon.
Aaron is, in my mind, very affectionate. Like he would want to spend his whole Sunday on the couch cuddling.
Absolutely.
Oh, that makes me like cringe.
what do you
Like
mean?
my skin's crawling.
Why don't you?
No chance.
What do you do? Sit on opposite ends of the couch and
Yeah.
We would be described as
about
like
business.
an old married couple.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you've
You
been
know.
together a long time.
Yeah.
But even
But
still, we were never like
I'm
that.
never that guy.
You just went. I'm so that guy.
I can't do it. I feel so.
Hal says
weird
that I'm
about
like needy.
No, but that's the thing. In front of people, I would feel the same. I would be a little bit like, oh, I don't want people seeing me sort of do that.
Oh, being vulnerable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
okay.
would.
You got to get vulnerable.
Well, yeah, but behind closed doors, yeah.
No, I've been described several times as like an emotional robot.
That's what I call him. That's love. Emotional robot is my husband.
And Bella always or doesn't always now, but she used to always complain about it.
I used to
And
rip
I
you
was
on
like,
it.
Bella, you've always known this about me, so you can't.
Yeah.
Don't try and change me.
We'd have like a fight about nothing, and he would be like going ape shit at me, and I'd be like, "Fucking emotional robot," and like
do you
run
want
off sad.
Do you want the cuddling?
No, not really. But
Well, there you
I
go.
thought I did when we were
I
younger.
don't know, Bella. You are a bit needy like that.
No, you say that I'm needy, but I think
remember
I'm a
when we were in
normal
Sydney.
amount of like I want a
I
bit of
remember we
affection.
were all staying in that little apartment in Sydney together. And you were like, tonight's cuddle night, Hal. And
Yeah,
you were
I have
like,
to warn
and
him.
the way you looked at me, you were like, oh.
I have to like groom him. Like
yeah.
I have to be like, Hal, I want 5 minutes of cuddling while we're watching a movie, and like 5 minutes, he'll almost have the timer on.
The thing I struggle with though is like, I reckon, and I'm not sure if everyone goes through this, but I do. Whatever I'm doing is like a full mental battle.
Yeah.
So when I'm waking up in the morning, I'm like, all right, I've got to have a shower. I've got to fucking clean my teeth, you know, all that stuff. So it's like, it's a process and
Got
like
to
a
get
battle
through the
for
list
me. Yeah.
before.
And it's same when
What,
I'm like,
daily life?
no, yeah, it is.
It is for everyone,
When does
Hal.
it end and you can...
Never though,
Relax.
because it's like I'm at work. I've got to do my setup. I've got to get all this shit ready.
Bit
blah,
highly
blah.
strung.
And then you got to go home.
And then
you
when I'm
gotta-
at home and I'm like, all right, I'm lying on the couch. I'm like, all right, I'm lying on the couch. I'm going to get comfortable. And for me, it's like then having Bella come and lie on me to try and do this. I'm like,
Big Mamu
I'm now
Bella.
so uncomfortable.
Really?
Yeah,
So that's more
And mind you, I'm in
comfortable.
the other room doing the dishes, doing the cleaning,
So-
and Hal's just worrying about I need to be comfortable.
yep.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting.
I love
didn't-
my life.
I didn't know that's how it works.
a mental battle
I
up
didn't
here,
know-
Aaron.
yeah.
Oh,
Always.
he's got
my
so many
morning
demons.
In would be just it's basically like I know there's certain things that I always do before I go, but it just always happens automatically. You get up, you do what you do, you shower, you brush your teeth, you have your breakfast, you go. It's like the day doesn't start really for me mentally about figuring stuff out until like I'm at the shop. And it's like, okay, who's coming? What am I drawing?
Okay.
That's when it starts. It's
I
just
envy that.
Yeah, it's a relaxing way to be, I think.
I
I
like
don't
that.
stress about too much because, yeah, it's stressful.
We need
Definitely.
Aaron to do a question now.
Yeah, where's your questions?
We've
Aaron?
both done one,
I'll have
haven't
a
we?
Look through.
I'll get some good tap ones coming up.
I had plenty of random ones that I guess, yeah, just funny ones. A lot of friends sort of just taking the piss.
I'd be interested to know, like,
Clickbait.
people who listen to this, are they coming like purely for tattoo related talk?
Yeah.
Or like, is it more people who like want to know you on a personal level?
Because you're going to get all of it.
So I got
Yeah.
You're
I
strap
got-
in for the ride.
I got a few tattoo ones that I think were interesting. And it was how to build a client base when you're starting.
Yeah.
Like, what's the best way? And I guess because I did move from Portland to Melbourne,
Which is how far away for people who don't know.
that's a 4-hour drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From Melbourne.
So your customers aren't going to drive 4 hours
That's
for a
it.
tat.
And I actually do have
On single lane
a
freeway.
handful that do it, and
Yeah.
it's amazing. I can't believe they do.
You really do have some great
But
clients and friends who
Absolutely.
travel to hang out with you and get tattooed at the same time.
It's really good. I couldn't appreciate
Good on you
it.
So how
guys.
do you build a customer base, Aaron?
So we had a bit of a plan when I first rolled up. We were sort of like, we had a bit of a chat.
Us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were sort of like, okay, how are we going to sort of get this going the best way we can? And I sort of, like, you obviously helped me run my Instagram a little bit more tightly, and that was a big help. Having a structure to it, not just sort of posting willy-nilly and just seeing what happened. And that definitely helped. And I would say, like, just having a good, like, clear structure on how you operate online is obviously a big thing.
Yep.
And then I think it just sort of comes down to whenever you do get an appointment, this is what I've found. You've got to really make sure that person leaves so stoked with the experience. That is what I've noticed, is always getting returning customers, because you'll get, it's hard to advertise in a sea of tattooers.
Yeah.
You got to stand out somehow.
Especially in Melbourne.
Exactly. And the only way I found that worked the best for me to keep them coming back, and then any new client, was to just basically treat them like they're your best friend.
Yep.
From the moment they walk in the door, like you've known them forever kind of thing. Not in a weird way. But
You are a very, very
Hey, good to see ya.
yeah, it's like, it's been a
polite.
while.
no, but you are a very polite, welcoming person as well. So
It does come a bit
Yeah.
naturally. Like it's I
You've
find
got
it
the
easy
outgoing
to do it.
personality.
Yeah. I didn't think I was. I thought I was sort of a shy person.
nah,
and
you're a
like-
happy little
But
larrikin.
It's becoming easier, obviously, the more comfortable I've been tattooing. Like, now that I feel like I'm in a place that the tattooing isn't as stressful now. Like,
Yeah.
sort of that first few years is always a bit rocky. And
You're
a
not
bit,
sweating
Yeah,
balls and
like,
shaking every 5
you know,
seconds.
I've got a bit more confidence in my ability and that sort of thing. So now it's all just customer service, and even that now is so much easier. But I find that that's my easiest way to build a base, is to any appointments that you get, any clients that you get, treat them like they're the only the person that
be
matters. You
nice
know?
and respectful.
Yeah, absolutely. And they'll generally, if they want a tattoo, and you do, obviously, if you do what they want and a good job, it's part of it as well. But yeah, if you give them a good experience, make them feel comfortable, then they're going to want to come back to the shop. They're going to want to come back and see you.
Well, yeah, tattooing is, if you really think about it, a customer service industry.
Absolutely.
They're choosing to come to you, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So you should be thankful enough that they've chosen you out of this massive sea of tattooers in Melbourne. But if you're giving them a good service, like you're doing the tattoo how they like they see your style, they know what it's generally going to look like. But you just are nice to them and ask them how their day is.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
hard.
And I would say, like, as the older, or like the
As the shop robot.
No, like the more experienced tattooer here, it's like seeing both of you is like, I think both of you naturally have like quite outgoing personalities. You know, like easy to meet. Like I felt like I met you once, and then it was like I was like
First
friends.
day.
You know what I mean?
First day we're going to start a band, was it?
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Me, you, and Zach.
Yeah, and Bella, you know, you say that you're like, you disagree with this, but everyone else disagrees with you. Is like you're very friendly with people.
I would like to say, and this makes me feel smart saying it because it's a big word. I would like to say I think I'm an ambivert.
I don't know what that is.
Never heard of that word.
That means, I think it means, I could be very wrong. I'm usually wrong. It means you're an extrovert but also an introvert.
Okay.
So you toy with both sides.
I would say you're not an introvert at all, but
I can be.
I don't know about that.
I think you're wrong.
But anyway, I think it comes naturally to both of you. That's why you've been able to build clientele bases like quite successfully. And I always remember when I started. When I started at Vintique, it was just me, Scott Moss, and Bobby Skins. They taught me to tattoo, and I still work with Bobby. He's one of the owners of Carlisle and Vintique, and Scott's gone on to own Golden Heart with his wife out in Cranbourne. But I remember coming in, and I was like the most like awkward, like I've always been like real socially.
If
Like,
there's two people who will
uncomfortable.
understand Hal being like an emotional robot, it is those two men.
Yeah, and I was like, and the customer service was like my biggest downfall. Other than like not knowing how to tattoo when I started, obviously.
We
But,
can
like,
laugh about it now, but it was
Yeah.
touchy.
and I was like real shit at it. But I remember watching them, and it was like, not necessarily like they were acting or anything, but it was like they could sort of like, they could talk to anyone about anything.
They could switch on and off.
And I was always like, I just couldn't do it. You know, like I was like, unless we had something really in common that I was like really interested in, I just couldn't talk to you. And also I had the issues like when I was tattooing, I couldn't talk as well at the same time. So it was like these.
That starting out is so scary. Just
Yeah.
every line is dire, you know.
Yeah, and you feel like you almost, like even now if I'm pulling a really hard line like over a kneecap or something, I like almost hold my breath.
I don't even
it's
hear
bad.
words when that
Yeah.
happens, you know.
I don't even know what I'm saying when I'm tattooing.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh shit, I hope this goes good.
Yeah.
But I remember like looking at them, both of them, Scott and Bobby, and going like, they seem to just have like this crazy like retention of customers, you know. And it was like people who only got tattooed by them, and they'd come in like every week, and it was almost like they weren't like, obviously they cared about the tattoo and what they were getting, and they had an idea and all of this, but I think like
They wanted the
At the core
experience.
of it, it was like they were just sort of like hanging out, and you know, like it was something that they enjoyed coming to do. The customers, that is, and I think like exactly what you were saying, Aaron and Bella, is that's, you know, like it's a given that obviously you've got to do a good quality tattoo, and give them what they want. But it's like beyond that, I think the reason why certain customers choose to go back to certain artists, you know, they might come and get a sleeve from someone, you know, they might have tattoos from 10 people, but then suddenly they're only getting tattooed by you, is because there's some sort of connection there, you know, they feel like it is a good experience, you know, like, and I think I've always thought this just because of the way, you know, sort of I got brought up in tattooing, is like, I view tattooing like 100% as a service first.
Absolutely.
More so than like my art, and I do it as a tattoo medium, and you can get it if you want. So yeah, I view it 100% as like, as long as I can do what you're asking and confident that I can do it well, then it doesn't really matter. Like if you'd booked in, for example, to get, you know, a skull on your forearm in traditional, but you came in, you said, hey, actually, I just want to get some lettering on the inside of my forearm. You know, like you've come in, you've got your booking, you know, like I can do that for you.
We'll just make it happen.
And, you know, my art is secondary to like the tattoo you're getting.
Well, yeah, the tattoo's on this person forever. They've chosen, it's like a big decision to get a tattoo, especially like your first few. So as long as the person is actually 100% confident that they want it, they're keen to get it, they're here, you're just going to be like, yeah, cool. If I can make that work, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You
And I
don't want them to feel forced into doing something they don't want either.
Yeah.
No way.
And I think
Yeah.
that's, you know, like for me, I view tattooing like that's the job, you know, like you give them what they want. And ideally, you get to a position in your career where people come and they get stuff that you like doing, you know, as in like they get stuff that's similar to your paintings or stuff that you've drawn. They give you more sort of freedom with, you know, pushing the design in the direction that you like. And I think like just looking at my career, it's like some of the customers who have allowed me to do tattoos that have probably had the biggest impact on my career, you know, like, you know, one girl, lady who I tattoo like regularly, and probably the tattoos I did on her arm and leg, all black and grey traditional, they were like the first tattoos of mine, I think, that really gained like any sort of traction
They
online.
popped off online.
And, you know, she's like, been such a loyal customer, and I've done all of her tattoos. Bella's done one, but other than that, I've done all of her tattoos.
Yeah, she didn't come back for more for me. Didn't like
And
it.
she was, it's like the first time I ever tattooed her, so her first 2 tattoos, she got 3 tattoos on the first time. I was tattooing her brother, and she came over from Adelaide, and she was just sitting there and she didn't have anything to do, and I didn't have anything on after, and she's like, oh, hey, can I get a tattoo if you got time? And I was like, well, yeah, I've got nothing on, so like obviously I can tattoo you. But the stuff she wanted was like super fine line lettering and then like an outline only crucifix on her collarbone. And it's like basic tattoos, but like not something that I did very often. And also it's like the outline only crucifix was 2 lines on her collarbone. Like it's not.
And for people who obviously don't tattoo,
It
that is
sounds
a
easy.
critical tattoo.
Yeah.
It is so hard.
Very
Anything that like
stressful.
for a traditional tattooer that is like outline only or single line.
Yeah,
oh,
just like there's
hard.
no room for error, you know what I mean?
I'm
So it was
sweating.
like, and obviously I was using needles that I don't use very often and stuff like that. So like, it was like I was pretty nervous doing it, and it was her first tattoos and stuff. And anyway, I did them, and yeah, I was really happy with them and everything. She loved them, and I got a message from her, I think it was a few days later, and she was like, oh, I just looked at your Instagram, like I absolutely love the tattoos you did on me, like, but I saw that like you do like a different style, and she's like, thank you so much for doing these tattoos. And I was sort of thinking like, oh, well, I only post traditional, but I do other stuff, you know,
Yeah.
like I just don't put it up on my Instagram, and I'm always happy to do whatever as long as I can actually do it. And she's like, I'm just like, from now on, like, I'll just pick stuff that like out of your book or like stuff that you want to do. And I always say this to the younger dudes when we talk to them at the shop is like, that's why I think it's like, I'm so grateful that when I started tattooing, it's like Bobby and Scott really sort of instilled in me that it was like, it's a service, you know, like if you've got time, you can do the tattoo, you do it for them and you do it the way they want. I mean, you can guide them to make it, you know, get it in a good position, all that sort of shit. But it's like, just because I don't think it's cool necessarily doesn't mean it's like, it shouldn't be done.
Yeah.
And yeah, then it's like, I always think back to like the opportunity I would have missed if I'd said like, oh no, like that's not the style I do or something, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. If you're always doing that, then
Well, like
potentially, yeah.
I feel like there's a line on that. Like there are certain things that you can tattoo and you can do well with that not being like your preferred style. But if someone's coming to you for like a portrait, not happening. Like,
yeah, but that's because you can't.
Yes, and
you-
I think that's
Yeah.
the difference. As long as it's something that you know that you can do confidently and do a really good job of, you'll do it.
Yeah. So realism portraits, obviously
No,
where I
go.
draw the line. I haven't put any time into learning it properly. So
Yeah.
Mind
I
blowing.
wouldn't trust myself
No,
trying
I'm
to
the
tattoo
same
that
way,
on
I'm the
someone.
same.
No.
I feel like that's the kind of
It's-
stuff. It's like you
You'd want to
you
go
know,
to someone.
You want to go to someone, yeah, who specializes in that shit. They do it every day, and it's the
Yeah.
same as like if you want to get a really sort of specific style of traditional or Japanese, it's like
Go to someone who knows
yeah,
exactly
I'd
what they're
always
doing and they're
recommend to
confident.
go to someone who does like that every single day because you know they'll be able to bang it out exactly how you want it.
Yeah.
You're going to get a better finished product.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But we've gone way off track here from this question.
We always do though.
Yeah.
But this was something that I got asked as well, so it is another question. It's like, how do you reckon social media has impacted on the tattoo industry? And you guys might have different answers to me because like social media was quite prevalent when you guys started tattooing. But when I started, it was, I mean, I definitely had Instagram, but it was like, do you remember when it used to be way more like it was only pictures, there was
yeah.
fuck all messaging going on
Yeah.
it, no videos, like
Nah.
all that sort of shit. And
No
I
stories.
was always like,
Back when they had the old Polaroid app
Yes,
logo.
that's
yeah.
it, yeah.
I
That's the-
remember I got Instagram when I think, Hal, we were in maybe year 11.
I got Instagram the first week it actually ever came out.
Yes, and I
I don't
can
know why.
absolutely say that is true.
I don't know why, and I remember looking back.
Nah, you were a weirdo. You used to always go on the App Store and see what
I
new
used to
things
post
were
like
out.
fucking just weird photos at school and shit
Yeah.
on it, and no
With
one
the
from school had it.
Valencia filter.
But I remember some people that I've been tattooed by, I found them on there, like on Instagram. It was like, but yeah, I think for me the impact has been like, I feel like all the work used to come through the shops, you know, or like if you were like a popular tattooer, you know, be in magazines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And now it's sort of like just become like free marketing for the individual tattooer. And you can, you could be doing 3 tattoos a day every day for the rest of your career and never work in a shop,
Yeah.
And I don't personally think that's like, I wouldn't like to have that as a career. I think you learn so much working in a shop with other artists and seeing what they're doing, seeing how they interact with their customers, all that sort of stuff. So I'm a big
shop environments are my preferred environment for
yeah,
sure.
I'm a big advocate for like coming up in a shop and doing it that way. But I think, and this is also another question, it was like from Finn, Mr. Two Heads, who works in Hobart in Tasmania. He's come up and guested with us a few times. He asked me, where do we see the tattooing industry in 10 to 20 years? And I was like, fuck, I don't even know. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, fuck, I don't even know. I feel like
I don't even know what to think about the next year.
I know.
Nah, neither.
I feel like
It
could
moves
go
so quickly.
like so many different ways. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a portion of the industry that reverts back to how probably it was a few years ago, where it's more shop-based. Like, people get sick of the social media stuff and they're like, hey, I can do a really good tattoo. There's heaps of work comes through the shop. Like, the social media, like, it's great, but it's a bit more of like a vanity thing for me. So I can't be fucked with that.
I'm shocking with my social
media. I've
media.
got a big clientele base already. So it's like, I'm just going to tattoo these same 30 people because they're getting large ongoing work and stuff. But then I also think it's like, does tattooing, which it already sort of has, like, because now like there's so much info out there about tattooing. It's like, if you're an artist, it can just become another part of your portfolio. You might do oil paintings and sculptures and pottery, and then suddenly it's like, oh, you're doing an exhibition with tats. So I don't know if I think that's a good thing or not, but I just think like with the social media and the exposure, I can only see it just expanding and expanding. And
And I think, well, you've got, I would say word of mouth is one of the easiest ways to get your name out there. Like, obviously, like we were saying before, you provide a good experience. They're telling their friends and they're like, oh, you should go to this shop, go to this person, had a great time. Instagram is an even easier way for that word of mouth, because like, you got a picture, you don't even have to have been to the shop, and there's you find a picture of a tattoo you really like, you send it to your friend. So easily. And it's like, that's the word of mouth doing its thing as well online. And it's just, I can only see it expanding, and just say Instagram has its day, like Facebook, and it's sort of just not the main thing anymore. There'll be something else, like TikTok.
It's already
is
gone,
massive.
like already starting to go to TikTok.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And it's like, that's now, like, instead of it just being photos, reels are a thing, and you're more interactive. You're seeing more of what the process of a tattoo is.
Yeah.
Like, there's way more that you get to see now, all because of the internet and
I've got it.
social media.
What?
We're obviously just going to have to live stream the shop.
I remember when an app came out, I can't remember what it was called, and I remember Bobby was messaging me going, fuck, everyone's getting on this app. And it was like just a live streaming thing. And then
I remember that, and it was putrid.
a few people did it, and then like I never heard a single thing about it after.
Nah, that's got to be it.
Yeah.
Live stream in the corner of the shop. The camera's up there. You hear and see every second.
But it's like, I remember, because I remember when I started tattooing, it was like Tumblr and Facebook and even like MySpace were big. And everyone, like, now I'm sort of like, so, Instagram has done good for me and all of us. And now I'm sort of like, fuck, I don't want new shit to come out.
No,
I want it to stay
Do
where
we have
it
to
is.
start again?
But I think it's
a
like,
new way.
I already look like, I would say like I was an early adopter of TikTok.
Yeah, people would absolutely rinse you for it because they're like, you're so fucking lame, bro.
Yeah,
making these stupid videos.
And I'm like, I'm sort of over like generating the content. You know what I mean? It's like, I just want to do the tats, but I'm like, I know it's part of it and you got to do it. And
It's
I like
just the way it is. Yeah.
I like the. Yep. Hey mate. Sorry, we were getting kicked out.
We've been talking too
I
long.
like the response. Not necessarily like people saying things, but it's like, I like when you put something up and then someone books in to get a tat. But anyway, we'll move on from that. I wanted to ask favourite tattooers who asked me this.
Oh, shit.
Nick, I'm going to say Yuka. I tattooed him in New York a
Yes.
few years ago.
Yes.
And he asked, who is your tattoo idol? Who do you look up to and why?
I'm coming in here with my
Name one.
two. Oh, no, I'm going 2.
Go.
I could really go 10, but
Come on.
2, I'm going to go Chad Coplinger and Austin Maples.
I was going to say Chad as well, and I don't know if it's Coplinger or Kaplinger,
Yeah, I don't know either.
but
Never met him, so
Chad, American tattooer. Yeah, I would say definitely, like, there's a few others around there, but he's my favourite tattooer, like,
I probably took your favourite just then because he is your number one favourite.
and have never been tattooed by him, but I have plans to in the future. So, yeah, check him out. Austin Maples, great tattooer as well.
Amazing.
He tattooed my hands.
Yes, and I remember that day
many years
so
ago.
clearly. Best
So
experience.
he owns Enjoy Tattoo in LA. I would say, like, Austin's, like, technically, like, one of the best tattooers in the world.
Oh, he's amazing.
Yep.
So well versed. Aaron, you're up.
Well,
And you can't say me, obviously.
I don't know then. Well, it's pretty easy for me. I always, like, you know, I didn't really expand out much when I was first getting into tattoos. I was just like, I had no idea who, and I got shown obviously plenty of Melbourne tattooers, and I started getting tattooed by Benny McDowell
Yeah.
really early on, and
Sick
it was
tattooer.
so good, and it was just
Amazing.
super easy,
Yeah.
and I obviously loved his work. And he just made it, like I was saying before, super easy experience,
Yeah.
so good going to him. I, you know, got along really well. And when I got into the tattooing and I mentioned it to him when I got tattooed, he was so supportive about it all. And it was just one of those things that, like, there's just a lot of respect there when...
You've only said amazing things about
Yeah,
every time
like-
you've been tattooed
And
by
I've been
him.
tattooed by him so many
Yeah.
Like
times.
both your arms,
Yeah.
heaps on your
So,
legs.
No, I can
It's
vouch for that as well.
pretty
when he
easy one
tattooed me when
for
I
me.
was younger as well, and like real supportive.
Yeah,
you know, like,
absolutely. Didn't make it seem like it was going to be hard. He said it was going to be... He's like, you'll be fine. Like, eased my mind so quickly. And I was like, oh, that's sick.
yeah.
Do you know what I really don't like? I have heaps of customers who have sick work by Benny, and every time they come in, I'm like, fuck, I have to put one of my tats next to this. And it makes me feel like the shittest cunt. Oh, it's depressing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No,
There you
he is a great tattooer.
Yeah, so
I
he's
was- and
obviously
I'm-
working at Melbourne Tattoo Co. in Melbourne.
Recently
Previously-
out of retirement as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, he came back to
Yeah.
it.
In COVID, he said he was,
I think he moved to Albury or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think he posted on Instagram saying he was quitting tattooing through COVID. And then Hal was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
he's never coming back. And I'm like, nah, for that talent, you're coming back.
I
And
knew it.
Are you saying you predicted it?
I did. Never met him, but I'm saying I
Yeah.
predicted it.
I've never met this bloke, but I know exactly what he's going to do.
100%. I
Yeah,
do this all the
no,
time.
And now he's back.
You guys
and-
will learn to love and hate me.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. All right. Well, I feel like we covered a lot of stuff. I had way more written down that we're going to go
Yeah.
through, but time's absolutely flown. So,
And we do ramble a lot.
oh, ramble.
It's easy.
But yeah. Thank you, Aaron and Bella, for coming on and
Thank you.
talking about
for
Halsey
having me.
Welsey.
stuff. There's heaps of stuff we didn't touch on that I guess hopefully we'll talk about in coming weeks. And
Well, that's only if you guys actually like this.
Yeah.
If you hate it, we're not going to continue doing it. So it's up to you. The ball is in your court, ladies and gents,
But
and
yeah.
everything in between.
episode of Carlisle Studios #1 is done.